That was the gnarliest thing. I've never done any crossing like that ever in my life.
As I completed the desert section of the ICT, literally crying like a baby because I had to say goodbye to Michelle again.
I don't know why I'm so emotional, but that's the hardest part, I think, is just, it's like seeing her and then saying goodbye. I don't know, we haven't, for like the past 3 years, we really haven't spent a day apart from each other. Can't believe I'm doing this. I think it gets more real here.
I traveled across more road.
I can see Nevada all the way from here, and it's more than 100 miles away. I don't know what lie ahead, so I'm gonna fill up in this creek. Doesn't look that clean, but gotta do it.
I walked through a windmill farm, and then up the only hill that I had seen in the last 100 miles. Jumped a barbed wire fence and walked to the Bennett Hills, where I got my first glimpse of the Sawtooths.
The landscape is changing. It's the start of a new chapter. Sawtooths.
When I planned this hike, I connected with a fellow ICT thru hiker from Austin, Texas named Matt Jordan. His trail name from the PCT last year was Fibonacci. My friend Colby Rampton from McCall also agreed to join me for the Sawtooths, so the three of us trekked on. We first had to travel across road, passing herds of sheep, and eventually getting to Hunter Transfer Camp. It was nice to see a change of scenery. The flat desert transitioned to mountains, trees, and streams. Our first challenge was to cross a stream that was a total mess due to a beaver dam. We didn't know at the time, but that would be one of the easiest crossings we had to cross.
Are no longer in the desert, as you can see, tons of trees. We've gone 20 plus miles every day for the past 8 days, or I have. So I really don't know how long it will take us to get through the Sawtooths, because I don't know how much snow there is as we get farther down. But I don't know. It's like all up in the air. I would like to get this section done super fast.
We reached the outskirts of Featherville, Idaho.
And we're trying to hitchhike. We need to hitchhike to Featherville so that Phibbs can get his resupply that he mailed there.
To my surprise, my friend Colby at that moment decided to bail on the hike. He said it wasn't for him and he didn't want to continue. It was sad to see him leave, but he had made up his mind and he ultimately bailed. It was Phibbs and I, and we continued on. And this is where the Sawtooths really began.
We're at the highest point of the ICT right here.
We hit the Sawtooth at the end of May, the beginning of June. If I had to sum up the Sawtooths in 3 words, I would say snow, water, and post-holing. Every day you never expected your feet to be dry. They were always wet. It was a beautiful place. Except with our pace, I don't really think I got the full advantage of taking it all in.
I can't begin to tell you how hard today was. Today was definitely the hardest day. We were on the snow all day today. Like trail miles, we did 20 plus, and then just regular miles recorded on the GPS. It was 19. I'm beat. It was a tough day. It was the toughest day that we've had, and there was tons of creek crossings. It was gnarly. It was definitely hard, for sure.
The next morning, we took a game trail shortcut, which led us to the first stream crossing where for a second, I thought Phibbs would go down.
Dang it. Taking an alternate route because the river crossing is way too deep and dangerous.
This is the part where it gets gnarly, and I had no idea what was coming. We needed to cross the South Fork of the Payette, but this was not the crossing. This was the crossing.
That was the gnarliest thing. I've never done any crossing like that ever in my life. Phibbs, what would you say about it?
That was the gnarliest thing I've ever done. That was stupidly dangerous.
But we both agree that I don't think we would do that ever again. That was a once in an ICT. So tomorrow we think it's going to be a pleasant day, but we have no idea if it's going to be gnarly or not. Who knows? River crossings and snow are the big things right now.
The next day wasn't too bad. We had a couple of stream crossings that were a bit stronger than your average, but all in all, it wasn't that bad of a day. The temp started dropping and a storm moved in, so we decided to take a hike to Granging, which was only a mile away, and spent the night at the Sawtooth Lodge. The next morning, we made our final ascent up the last pass, which led us all the way to Stanley Lake. Snow still covered the mountaintops, but from where we came from, it wasn't all that bad. For me, the cool temps actually felt nice. It reminded me of backcountry skiing in the early season. I was excited to get to Stanley Lake. Colby left his car there, so my plan was to drive his car from Stanley all the way to McCall to visit Michelle for 2 days. The Sawtooths had been rugged, wet, snowy, yet beautiful. Both Phibbs and I felt a sense of accomplishment as we came down the mountain. For us, this had been the hardest part of the journey thus far. But what we didn't know is what lurked ahead. We had heard many stories of the Frank Church River of No Return wilderness, but for us, it was still a mystery. On the next episode of the Idaho Centennial Trail.